Hey guys, this is Damian from Dame Tech, back with another video. This video will be brief and hopefully informative for those still on the fence of whether they should upgrade or purchase the 2021 iPad Pro 11-inch variant compared to the 2020 iPad Pro. Again, like the title states, this video is mainly focusing on the 11-inch model and not the 2021 12.9-inch variant. Now, in order to help guide you in making the right purchase, let's first identify the similarities and then the differences between the 2020 and the 2021 iPad Pro 11-inch models. As for similarities, the LCD display, build quality, and sound system in each of these devices share the same features. Both reach 600 nits peak brightness and have quad speaker sound systems. Now, as for differences, the 2021 variant has Apple's amazing custom M1 chip, the same SoC that is housed in their current MacBook Air, 13-inch MacBook Pro, and Mac Mini. The 2021 variant also now has 5G connectivity, 8 to 16 gigabytes of RAM, depending on storage options, all-new ultra-wide front camera with automatic center stage, and a Thunderbolt port compared to the regular USB-C port found in the 2020 iPad Pro models. Nevertheless, now with all of this being said, let's look at each of these changes more in depth, starting with the M1 chip. On paper and through synthetic benchmarks, the M1 chip surpasses the A12Z Bionic chip up to 50% in CPU and 40% in GPU performance. This is a huge performance gap. However, as it pertains to practicality, the performance gains aren't as big as you think. Recently, I did a 4K video compression test between the 2020 iPad Pro, equipped with the A12Z Bionic chip, and the latest Mac Mini, equipped with the custom M1 chip. As you can see, the performance gains are very minimum to none. The Mac Mini finished in roughly 1 minute and 3 seconds, while the iPad Pro finished in roughly 1 minute and 5 seconds. Now, one could argue that LumaFusion is natively an ARM-based application and it may not be fully optimized for the Mac Mini. However, Apple's M1 chip is ARM-based, and I believe that even with further optimizations, the performance gains might only slightly improve, as even Adobe Rush produced similar results. Now, I'm not presenting this information to belittle the M1 chip, but more so to show the power of the A12Z Bionic chip. The 2020 iPad Pro is already future-proof as is, and the M1 chip in the 2021 iPad Pro is just purely overkill and too advanced for 2020 applications to fully utilize its power. There is no real software application on the iPad Pro that can really utilize the power of the M1 chip, which will hopefully change after this year's WWDC event in June. macOS applications on an iPad Pro would be a dream come true. Now, as for gaming, for any of you who follow my channel, the 2020 iPad Pro already perfectly runs every game to date. Genshin Impact, which is probably one of the most demanding games today, runs at a steady 60 FPS with max settings. Tower of Fantasy, Diablo Immortal, Apex Legends Mobile, and many more upcoming games either have inferior or similar demanding GPU requirements as Genshin Impact. Thus, I don't see the 2020 iPad Pro having issues running any of these applications in max settings. Now, again, one could argue about the future demanding games or applications in 2022 or 2023, but probably by this time, the M2 or M3 iPad Pro will be released and you'll just be better off upgrading to these devices when it's actually needed as it pertains to performance. Now, as for 5G connectivity, for many people, LTE is more than fast enough and its coverage area is still much bigger than any 5G network. 5G coverage has been improving, but even with carriers now implementing sub-6 networks, many people still aren't covered. especially if they live in a rural area. There's no question that 5G will eventually get to most areas, just like 4G did. But for the time being, coverage is still limited, especially with COVID delays. Thus, 5G for the iPad Pro is still irrelevant for many individuals in 2021 and most likely in 2022. Now, as it pertains to the 8 GB to 16 GB of RAM, there isn't much to argue against this, especially if you're doing serious multitasking. But from a personal experience, 6 GB of RAM paired with the amazing optimization of iOS, this has been enough for me. I've yet to think, man, I wish I had more RAM. Mind you, I do all of my YouTube video editing, I do all of my private practice work, and gaming with a 2020 iPad Pro and 6 GB of RAM. Now, as for the all-new ultra-wide front camera with automatic center stage, this is a very niche feature, but this is huge for many professions involving video conferencing or online teaching. Personally, out of all the upgrades, this is the one feature that I am the most excited about. However, again, this is due to my profession and daily work. Now, as for the new Thunderbolt port, if you aren't transferring large 4K or 8K video files and are planning to use external monitors, then it's just another niche feature that targets a small demographic. Taking all of this into consideration, in conclusion, many of these added or upgraded features in the 2021 iPad Pro 11-inch model aren't as big as we think, at least for the time being. Maybe in a year or two, these features will be useful, but again, I'd argue that it's probably just best to upgrade or purchase the latest iPad Pro releasing in that year. The 2020 11-inch iPad Pro is more than capable, and if anything, will handle anything you throw at it as it pertains to the current existing iOS applications. Now, if you fall into any of these niche professions or categories that absolutely need these features, then the 11-inch 2021 iPad Pro may be for you. However, it seems for the average consumer, the 2021 11-inch iPad Pro, even with all of these new upgrades, it's just not enough to warrant a need to upgrade or purchase over the 2020 iPad Pro models. As for the 2021 12.9-inch model, I purposely left out this variant as I believe this device may warrant a different conclusion due to the mini LED XDR display. However, before I can confirm or deny whether it is worth upgrading or purchasing the 12.9 variant, May 21st, I'll be performing various tests to reach a proper conclusion. Definitely stay tuned as I'll be sharing these test results for those interested in the 2021 iPad Pro 12.9 model. Also let me know in the comments what tests you would like to see for the 12.9-inch model. Thanks again for watching and supporting my small channel. If you enjoy this content, make sure to subscribe as I buy and test all of these devices with my own money for you all. Please stay safe and see you next time.